Good afternoon, everybody, and thank you once again for tuning in to our session today with the African Reform Movement channel, where we discuss everything African Reformation with an emphasis on Ghana. For those of you who are joining us for the very first time, welcome. My name is Uche Noka, and I'm your host, and we are joined, as always, by Dr. Ni Amudako, who is just one of the most brilliant minds I've ever come across when it comes to really navigating the ways that Africa can better itself in this current climate. Thank you for joining us. So if you're new here for the first time, you can follow Dr. Ni on all of his social media handles, which are here. If you are going to join us via YouTube or want to subscribe to his YouTube channel, please remember to click the notification bell as well. When you click the notification bell, you'll have three options. Select all, so every time we upload anything notifying you of upcoming events, you will receive notification of that, okay? He has also written a number of books, and they can all be purchased at this address here. That's at his Book Nook store, so that's that there. Once again, just to let you know that if you don't have time to take down all of these details, they are all in his description box on his YouTube channel. I also want to encourage you to send in all of your questions as the show is going on. So if there's any point that Dr. Nee is making that you want to have him explain, or you want to discuss a bit more in depth, please select our chat function and put all your questions in there. Okay, so today Dr. Nee is going to be talking about wealth creation in Ghana. So how do we take Ghana from where it is right now? How do we take it from pockets of poverty to becoming a nation that can stand on its own 2 feet financially? Dr. Nee would like to share with you his thoughts about that. So, Dr. Nee, over to you.
Well, thank you very much, Uzi. As usual, you've done the work already for me. I think I just have to go through the steps to fill in the holes because you've spoken so well. Well, today we are talking about wealth creation in Ghana. Very important. Very, very important. People keep asking me, so Nee, what is the way forward? Today, I'm going to tell you the way as far as I see it. And I'm going to back it up with some data that will let you know that all things are possible to him that believes. Can you please have the first slide?
Yep. Can you see that?
Yeah, I can see that. Creating a wealthy Ghana. Creating a wealthy Ghana. Moving us from the third world to the first world, as Lee Kuan Yew did in Singapore. Creating a wealthy Ghana. We've got to understand the fundamentals. Wealth creation depends on development. And development depends on good governance. This is my theme you see in almost every single book of mine. Almost every single book of mine. Because you get wealthy when you're able to produce more than what you need, and you're able to sell the excess product in exchange for cash for further development, reinvestment, more produce, then the cycle goes on. So, but to do that, you need a certain environment. And that environment is actually guaranteed only through good governance. Next slide, please. What is development? Wow, that's a big one. I don't know whether you have read my article, Why Are We So Underdeveloped? Development, basically, as far as I'm concerned, is mastery of or dominion over your environment. Okay? Your capacity to tame your environment and earn your living from it is what is called development. Those who have been able to tame their environment and they earn their income from their environment or from the environment are the developed ones. Those who have not been able to do that are the underdeveloped ones. It is very simple. So how do you tame the environment? How do you become a master of your environment? How do you have dominion over your environment? We have to understand this. From the beginning, it is said that man shall what? We were blessed and said, "Be fruitful, multiply, replenish, and subdue the earth." The end of the production cycle is to subdue and have dominion over the fish in the sea, the birds in the air, and over every creature that moves on the earth. When you are able to do this, then you are developed. Others have conquered the sea. They are making submarines. People have conquered the air. They are now even going to space. People have tamed everything. They are the developed nations. They have dominion over their environment. And where are we? Next slide, please.
Oh, sorry, 1 second.
That's all right.
There you go.
Good governance. What is that? Good leadership, good constitution, good citizenry, and good institutions. That is what good governance is about. A good leadership will sit down and write a good constitution. Good constitution will lead to the building of good institutions and good citizenry. All these things because when the leadership is bad, the constitution will be bad, the citizens will be bad, and the institution of state will be hopeless. So to have good governance, these are the elements. And we are going to talk about this in details as we go along. I've always spoken about this. When we started this series, that's how we started from. How to build a new state, Afro-democracy, economic federalism. We went through all these various things, and it doesn't bother me to repeat them until it becomes our second nature. So we are going through some of them again. Good governance, what it is. It's about good leadership, good constitution, good citizenry, and good institutions of state. Next slide, please. World of nations. Wow, this is beautiful. So when we see a nation is wealthy, what do we mean? There are three types of wealth. Natural wealth, which is oil, gold, agricultural lands, fertile lands, this and that, all the natural resources. And we have produced wealth, which is from manufacturing and road and those infrastructure that's produced wealth. And then we have intangible wealth. Now, we have to understand this point. The total or the proportion of our total wealth, which comes from our natural resources, is 3%. The proportion of our total wealth that comes from manufacturing and whatever is 17%. And the total wealth that comes from intangible wealth is 80%. So it's so clear here where the bulk of our wealth is in intangible wealth. So the country which is able to develop its intangible wealth, regardless of its natural wealth, is going to be wealthy. A country that focuses on manufacturing and and all those things will only be 17% down the road. When you combine natural wealth and produce wealth, you only get 20%. We know what natural wealth is. We know what produce wealth is. But what is intangible wealth? That's what we are going to look at today, because that's where, if we can tame it, then we know that creating wealth in Ghana is as easy as you can imagine. It is no mistake. You don't need to be an Einstein to create wealth in Ghana if you understand what intangible wealth is. Next slide, please. Oh, I can't see anything. Okay, intangible wealth. What is it? I got this data from World Bank research and the outcome of World Bank research. But actually, I've written about these things in the article I mentioned earlier. Why are we so underdeveloped? But I didn't have the figures. I brought the idea, the concept. I put produce wealth. I put natural wealth as primary economy. I put produce world at secondary economy, manufacturing, secondary economy, and I put these ones as service, knowledge, and data. I didn't know these details in terms of the figure because I didn't have the time, but I put the concept out. And then two friends of mine actually, in the last 3 to 4 weeks, sent me this report from the World Bank. I said, wow, the World Bank has given figures to my thoughts. We are going to go into intangible world. Now, the World Bank called the intangible wealth, which is 80% of total wealth of a nation. World Bank says that there are 2 branches of the intangible wealth. What they call the rule of law, which is 57% of the 80, and education, which is 36% of the 80. So between rule of law and education, you have 93% of intangible wealth. So we focus on that. Now, what it means is that in the real sense of the word, rule of law is 45.6% of total wealth of a nation. And education is 28.8% of the total wealth of a nation. So education alone is more than natural resources and produce wealth put together, because those two account for 20%. Education is 28.8%, and rule of law is 45.6%. In fact, rule of law is more than twice the total of natural resources and produce wealth. So now, if you are thinking of wealth creation, then you've got to major on the majors and minor on the minors. Intangible wealth. And Wellman realized or made some point. Now, the intangible wealth is a trusting society, good judicial system, property rights, and effective governance. Effective government, actually. I add accountability. I add morality. I add integrity. These are the things that make a country tick. Now, the World Bank called it the rule of law. I called it the principles of God, or the will of God. When we say that it will be done on earth, this is what we are talking about. We want a country that people trust each other, where the judiciary is good, where the property rights, not in Ghana, where you can buy a land to build something, and the one who sold the land to you go and sell it to 3 other people. There are no property rights. People will produce something, and others will just plagiarize and multiply it. There are no property rights whatsoever. And the judicial system, the least talk about it, the better. And of course, there is no effective government, no integrity. And these are the issues. These are the things that create wealth in the nation. No borrowing, loans, and overinflating prices to produce roads and things that actually get broken down in no time. These are the pillars of wealth creation in the nation. These are the pillars. A trusting society, good judicial system, property rights, effective government. When Obama came to Ghana, he made a comment. He said, make no mistake, development depends on good governance. And this is the one single ingredient that is missing in many parts of Africa for so long. Let's say it this way. It is Africans' responsibility to tap into this potential. That's what he said. It is Africa's responsibility to tap into this potential. It is one single ingredient which is missing in many parts of Africa for so long. I would say it is a single ingredient that is missing in every part of Africa for so long. Rule of law. So in the case of Ghana, right? In the case of Ghana, whether it is Nkrumah who sacked the Chief Justice because he didn't like the outcome of a judgment in 1963, or whether it was Buzia who said that the Supreme Court could not tell him what to do, he defied the Supreme Court, or whether it was Jerry Rawlings who, under his government, high court judges were abducted and murdered, or whether it was John Kufuor who passed the Supreme Court to get a desired outcome after he lost the case in court, or whether it was John Mahama who pardoned journalists who threatened to raise Supreme Court judges, or whether it's Nana Akufo-Addo who has superseded the Supreme Court from 9 to 18 Supreme Court judges so that he will form a unanimous team so that whatever case is taken to the Supreme Court against him, he will win. These are the people who are reducing the intangible wealth, and for that matter, the total wealth of Ghana. They think they are solidifying their position in power, but they are making the country poorer, because once you attack the rule of law, you attack intangible wealth, you attack 80% of the wealth of the nation, and the country becomes poorer. Now, let me tell you something about intangible wealth. In America, the natural wealth of America is 15,000 per capita. The produced wealth of America is 80,000 per capita. The intangible wealth of America is $418,000 per capita. What it means, 57%, or let's even just use education. 36% of that amount of money is $150,000. So education alone is equal to 10 times. It's equal to 10 times the natural wealth of America, which is 15,000. When you add the natural wealth of America, which is 15,000, to the produced wealth, the Apple, the highways, whatever, which is 80,000, it is 95,000. Education alone is 150,000. Education alone trashes the two combined 100%. So then, why are we here? No rule of law. No rule of law. We say that let thy kingdom come, thy will be done here on earth as it is in heaven. When you have rule of law, you have actually created the kingdom of God here on earth, because his will be done through that. That is the rule of law. When he says that man shall not live by bread alone, man shall not live by finance capital alone, but by every word that comes out of the word of that comes out of the mouth of God. Yes, this is the word that comes out of the mouth of God: justice, fairness, trust, effective government. And when he says that when the righteous rule, the people rejoice, but when evil men rule, the people mourn. This is what it means: rule of law, the principle of God, the will of God. That is what it means. That alone is more than twice the combined effort of natural resources and produce wealth. Now, so why are we poor? Poor rule of law. When I went to university, 1987, 30 years after independence, the total number of students in university in the whole of Ghana, 14 million people, was 8,450, less than 9,000 for 14 million people. Today in New Zealand population is 4.5 million. Did you hear me? 4.5 million. And what's the number of students in university? 180,000. So how do we compare our intangible wealth to that of New Zealand? 30 years after independence, we had less than 9,000 for 14 million people. Today, 1/3 of the population, New Zealand is 1/3 of our population in 1987 when I went to university. But what's the number of students in university? 180,000. 1/3 of Ghana population in 2021, the number of students is 180,000, more than 20 times the number of students in Ghana in 1987, with a population of 14 million. So what's the value of our intangible world? Zero. And that's why we are poor. Now, in the OECD, the 30 wealthiest nations in the world, the rule of law, the average rule of law is 90%, 90. America is 91, Switzerland is 99.5, almost 100%. Almost a perfect kingdom of God here on earth. And that is why Switzerland said, I'm not joining Euro. Because I don't need
to,
it. I have the kingdom of God here on earth. Because the will is done here. And Sub-Saharan Africa, what's the overall figure? 28%. You are going to be poor. And the biggest nation, Sub-Saharan Africa, Nigeria, what it is, what's the figure there? 5.8. That basket case of a nation. 5.8%. When another nation is 99.5, when the average of the wealthy nations is 90%, the giant of Africa is 5.8. No wonder Nigerians are running to Ghana for education. No wonder Biafra wants to separate itself. Can it get worse? The three countries, the poorest rule of law index is Nigeria, is Ethiopia, and is Burundi, all in Africa. And what do we think? We think our problem is colonialism. We are just joking. Nkrumah, Ghana, he sacked his Supreme Court judge. And what happened? His friend and mentor, C.L.R. James, in December 1963, wrote to him and said, Mr. President, you cannot sack your Chief Justice. I am your advisor. If you sack your Chief Justice, then you sack all of us. Do not just reinstate him, but go and make a public apology. Because C.L.R. James, one of the brightest brain ever in the black man's mind, knew the implications of undermining the judiciary. Nkrumah didn't do that, and he sacked Akukosa. And he got his own panel, and he jailed his own lieutenants, Tayo Adamafio, his chief propaganda secretary and minister for information, Akwaye, who brought him to Ghana, and the foreign affairs minister, and Kofi Krab, the executive secretary of his party. He put them in life imprisonment for trumped up charges. And that is not the way to rule a country. Now, he dropped our intangible world to the ground. These are the issues, brothers and sisters. When a country is matured, you, the president or the prime minister, you say, look, I disagree with you, but let the rule of law work. How many politicians like the decision from Supreme Court? But in a civilized country, in the country where the kingdom of God, the principles of God are established, you accept it and move on. But not in Africa. And that's why we are poor. It's as simple as that. We have trashed the 80% of our total wealth. When somebody believes that the road to wealth creation is borrowing money to build overinflated roads here and there, the person has missed the point. Next slide, please.
Oops.
So now here we come. How to create wealth. I'll first start with what not to do. We don't need more resources. The wealthiest nation in terms of total wealth is Switzerland. And their total wealth is 618,000. What do they produce? What resources do they have? But yes, the rule of law is 99.5%. I'm telling you, if God comes to this world, he will not know the difference between Switzerland and heaven. And we sit in Accra 24/7, all night, doing foolish things all over the place. And you think God is interested. Meanwhile, we are thieves. And we know that. We know that we don't respect any court decision. We influence the court, we bribe judges collect the money, and justice is perverted. To create wealth, we don't need more resources. We got oil and we are poor. Because the oil is put in the container which is leaking. The rule of law doesn't exist. So we got oil and we are poorer. Oil is not the curse. The curse is our low intangible world, our lawless society, our low skilled society, our poorly educated society. We don't need more government, for sure. We don't need more layers of government. I'm telling you, creating a container government would have been the biggest disaster because that's not what creates wealth. Switzerland did not join the EU. UK have Great Britain, they've come out of the EU and nothing has happened because the foundation for wealth creation are there. The Europe is just greater Germany. What Hitler couldn't get through war and conquest, Merkel wants to get it through diplomacy and economics. That's all. That's all. Greater Germany. Switzerland stayed out of the EU because it is heaven on earth. Why does it have to go there and be in the same community of nations with Poland and all those jokers? We don't need more layers of government. We don't need African Union. We don't need container government. Why do we need it? Tell me, how bringing 54 incompetent governments together will all of a sudden change and bring rule of law and increase intangible wealth? I want to know. What we need is more rule of law, lean and effective government. Not 126 ministers in Ghana, one Australia is doing 28. Yeah, it's just an absolute joke. When UK is doing 22 cabinet ministers. It's an absolute joke. Why do we need 18 Supreme Court judges? When Almighty America has only 9, and Australia with a total economy of $2 trillion has only 7. Why is you gonna have 18 judges in the Supreme Court? They're to pervert justice. And we think the world is stupid. We need more rule of law. That when you are buying land here, you don't have to worry about that. You buy the land, you go and register the land, and that's it.
Mm-hmm.
That when you take a case to the court, justice will be served appropriately. That when you bring things to the Harbor, you don't have to bribe anybody. You just sit down and you make one call, and they bring the things to you. You don't have to spend. If a doctor spends 4-5 days chasing his good at the airport, then he's not providing service that is paid for. It's inefficiency, and it costs the state. You have to understand that. We need more appropriate education. We spoke about that the other time.
Yeah.
We need a more appropriate education. If 70% of our economy is small scale and is overwhelmingly dominated by women, then we need a very aggressive female education. Because if those in that sector are properly educated, we know that it's going to increase our intangible wealth. It feeds 36% of our 80% intangible wealth is from appropriate education. 28.8% of our national total wealth comes from appropriate education. Once we have that, we know that we don't need more oil. We are getting the oil and we are poorer. So how to create world is very simple. People think when I'm talking like this, I'm not a magician. I have seen it.
Mm-hmm.
So you can see from here that colonialism is not our problem. Our problem is that we have failed to build a system based on the principles of God. We have failed to build a system based on rule of law. We have failed to build a system that produces highly skilled, appropriate citizenry. That is why we are poor. Just after my last week presentation about female education, then there was this story about soldiers going to dormitories of two schools in Kumasi High and St. Louis schools, because the students there, I think they were complaining about hunger and they had to take their own food to the dining hall. The government is pretending to have free education. It cannot sustain it. It's an absolute joke. When their counterpart in Singapore, a former colony, are studying and they are the third best educated country in the world, that explains their wealth. Our girls are fighting, soldiers are fighting and beating our girls in their dormitories. So the men will go into girls' dormitory to go and teach them a lesson in a primitive society. And we don't know why we are poor. Can you tell me one country that does that and is successful? Primitive. But we got to change it. How to create world is more rule of law and more appropriate education.
Thank you so much for that presentation, Dr. Nee. I hope everybody watching really understood that. And if there's any questions you have, please feel free to drop it in our chats here. So my question is, I don't know if it's possible now, but is there anything that can be done right now to transform the rule of law to the point that the intangible wealth in Ghana will rise? Is there anything that can be done at this point? Is it too late?
Fit Republic. Get a new constitution.
Okay.
That would, for the first time in the history of Ghana, dissociate or overturn the concept that the head of state is equal to the state. No one man should have that power to abuse the way it's been abused in Ghana. Mm-hmm. That is the fundamental problem. Mm-hmm. New constitution. I'm telling you. And that's my battle cry from day one, from 1992, when I was a small student. New constitution. It's wrong. You see, once you change that framework, you reduce the number of Supreme Court judges to 7, or no, none of them appointed by the president. You have a new mechanism of appointing a judiciary so that their independence will not be tampered with. You're on the way. You are on the way. In Singapore, a minister of Lee Kuan Yew committed suicide instead of facing the court. Yes. So Singapore is not where it is because of fun or because of God coming down or some angels, Michael Gabriel, or whatever jokers came down to do it for them. A minister left a note. A minister committed suicide because he was scared to face the law. He knows the law, the judge, the court is independent of the government. Not in Ghana. Not in Ghana. So everybody looking at Singapore say, no, this is a civilized society. Not in Ghana. Oh, yeah. And that's the difference. Singapore was also a British colony. So now, once you have a system in place, that would make the judiciary independent, not appointed by the president, like we have in Ghana. He can appoint 20 more Supreme Court judges today. We pegged the number 7. All appointed by a different mechanism, which I've written in my Fit Republic book. You'll be on the way. Okay, when you have an ECOFAS system, every state has its own parliament that is elected, and not a regional minister that is appointed by the president. Then you're on your way. Brisbane, the third city of Australia, is going to host the Olympic Games in 2032. Do you know those who want to represent Australia in Japan to get that vote? The Lord Mayor of Brisbane, who was elected by the people, the Premier of Queensland, who was elected by the people, and the National Minister of Sports, who was elected by the people. If it was in Ghana, it's going to be the president and the regional minister that he appointed and the city mayor that he appointed. They are all accountable to him and not to the people. System matters. A third city of a country is going to host the Olympic Games. 25 million people is Australia. Way back in 1956, Melbourne, the second city, hosted it. In 2000, Sydney, the first city, hosted it. And now the third city. What a record. Not one city in Africa is capable of doing that. 1.7 billion people. But the third city in 25 million people has won it. And do you know how it's going to be funded? 50% by the national government and 50% by the state government. Is there any region in Ghana can share even 10% of any development? No, my dear, systems matter. The Premier, the state of Queensland, is sharing the cost of building infrastructure and doing everything with the national government. And that's why we need EcoFed. Because the state to generate its own money, and I've written all that already. We need the Fifth Republic. So to answer your question, once you have the Fifth Republic, you will see the difference. We will double our GDP in 4 years. No two ways about that.
Okay. So just want to post up a question here from Mashika. She just made a slight amendment. So can a good man or woman of integrity rule well with the existing constitution?
Yes. She got to remember, I wrote an article, Integrity Beyond a Flawed Constitution. I wrote this article in July 2015, 6 years ago. Integrity Beyond a Flawed Constitution. And I gave the example of Nelson Mandela. When they wrote the South African Constitution, they said that in their government of national unity, a party needs to have 10% to have one minister. After the elections, Buthelezi got 10%. But Mandela went beyond that and gave him 3 ministerial positions, including Home Affairs for Buthelezi himself. Instead of getting 1, he took 2 from his party and gave it to Buthelezi. He got 3. De Klerk got 21%. That he was entitled to 5 positions. But de Klerk was made a deputy president, and Mandela gave him, he was entitled to 2 positions. De Klerk was made a deputy president, and Mandela gave him 5. Instead of 2, he gave him 5. He took from his party because he understood the spirit of the Constitution, that this Constitution wants to foster national unity. So he went beyond the minimum, and he gave more than what they deserve by law. Because no law stops you from doing good things and doing anything better than what is prescribed. So yes, a good man, if I were the president of Ghana today, I will still appoint only 25 ministers. And I'll do things because I wrote a whole article, The Transition, how to move from this Santa Constitution to a new Constitution, what arrangements using the existing Constitution, how I'm going to change things. Because, for instance, if I have the power now, I'm not going to have the mayor of Accra and also Greater Accra regional minister. This is useless. The mayor of Accra will be the acting Greater Accra regional minister. So I'll knock one position off. And I would be saying for Kumasi and Ashanti region, for Tamale and not easy. We can adjust because the constitution is so discretionary that a good person with integrity can make it better. But what we want to know is that we don't want to leave that power in the hands of man. We want a prescriptive constitution that will tell the person what to do, not the person deciding what I want to do.
Okay. The main comments have all been Shika's here. First, she said fascinating ideas. And then her second one was, your words are such hard-hitting truths, I'm just shaking my head.
Ha 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 ha. What's the second one? What's the second comment?
Did you miss what I said? The second comment was, your words are such hard-hitting truths that I'm just shaking my head.
Oh, okay. Yeah, it's a simple truth. And you see, it's up to Ghanaians anyway. You know, it's up to them what they want for themselves. You know, this one will not be forced. If they want to live the way they are living, fine. If you want to live a different life, look when you wrote a book from the third world. I've forgotten the exact title, but from the third world to the first world, something like that. And he did it in a generation. And these are the principles, the kingdom of God on earth. These are the principles. No magic, no juju. A small land, Singapore, 1/3 the size of Greater Accra, 5.6 million. Look at what he's done. He's the 8th richest person by per capita, GDP per capita in the world. The number 1 in the British Commonwealth. In a generation, because there's rule of law. Ministers commit suicide instead of going to court. They're scared. There's rule of law. Nobody's above the law. And we are joking. And we blame colonialism. It's obvious that's the problem. And it's clear the solution is not continental government. Because Singapore actually was sacked from the Federation of Malaysia. When it got independence in 1963, it was part of Malaysia as a federation. And Malaysia sacked Singapore in 1965, 2 years after the federation. You would have thought that being a small country and being sacked from a bigger country, you're going to be poorer. The unity is bullshit. Excuse my language. He moved away from Malaysia, and today Malaysians want to go to Singapore because he's built a better country. Because he knew what mattered. Colonial education, blah blah blah. Go to Singapore. Go and check their curriculum and see whether it's colonial education or not. He went to Cambridge, a first-class student of Cambridge, and he understood why Britain was able to build the London Bridge in 1840. He understood it. It took men of intelligence. No color. It's intelligence. It's not about color. It's not about the color of the skin. It's about the content of the character and the consciousness, and he brought it to his country. And here we are. Here we are, Singapore, population of Greater Accra. Population of Greater Accra. Here we are. When Singapore is the second best country in terms of health indices. On the 5-year mortality is 3 out of 1,000. If 1,000 children are born today, only 3 of them will die before the age of 5. In Ghana, that the first country to get independent, who cares? If 1,000 children are born today, 60 of them, and even that one, I don't even know where the data is coming from. 60 of them will die before the age of 5. A child in Singapore, born in Singapore, has a 20 times more chance to survive than in Ghana. Why? Why? Singapore also an ex-colony. Why? We are joking. We are joking. Our problem is not colonization. Our problem is not Christianity. China is coming. It's neither Christian nor Caucasian. And they are coming to recolonize us.
So is there because I'm just thinking, like, right here, right now, is there no one in government or anything trying to bring about even a shadow of some of the things you're speaking about to try and improve the country? There's nobody, no group trying to do anything.
Einstein says something, you see, because you are looking at them as human beings, but Einstein looked at them as consciousness. He said it is impossible to solve a problem with the same level of consciousness that created it. It's impossible.
So is there no one with a different level of consciousness?
If the person is there If that person is there, that person will not be in the government.
But that's terrible that they should be in government if they have that's what you need. You need
No,
someone that level of consciousness in the government.
because the one person who is not the only way that person can make any impact in government if he is a president. That's the constitution.
Got it. Okay. Okay, I understand.
Yeah, that's the question. Because if I were in government, I'll resign in 2 days. You go to the first cabinet meeting, what I'll say there, nobody will talk to me. It's as simple as that. I'm telling you, it is that simple. There is nothing. I mean, there are people there who have all these ideas, who have some good ideas. But I'm telling you, if you go there and go and talk blah, and leave the government, your wife will divorce you. They'll call you fool. Maononi is the country for you. You go there and go and chop some. Look at what you are doing. Kwasia. You come where nobody will even talk to you.
Wow. So again, it brings me to my original thought when I first started speaking to you. The work ahead is a massive, mammoth undertaking. It's a mammoth undertaking. Not that it can't be done at all. It's just that it's so humongous. It's like it's such a big thing. It's such a you've got your work cut out for you. Seriously.
No, you see, I look at it differently. You see, because I was there when Rawlings came to power. Okay. And the energy, the kind of energy of the youth that flocked to him, I'm telling you, if you knew what he was doing and afford that thing, it would have changed the people. The people want a savior, I can tell you that. And that's why, although the work looks great, if the person comes and the person says, this is what you are going to do, this is what will happen in 1 year, this is what will happen in 2 years, and people see it, you will see what will happen in Ghana. Because all that I'm saying, people know. But they are being led by people with dead consciousness. So at the end of the day, it's each one for himself, God for us. The legacy that will change everything. But one that can do good governance starts with good leadership, then good constitution. Because if the constitution flows from the leadership, and the interpretation of the constitution flows from the leadership. And that's what creates the good citizenry, and that's what brings about the good institutions of state. It's as simple as that. And I'm telling you, I know Ghanaians. You see, what is holding back some of the changes? What's holding back some of the changes is ethnicity, religion, and those little things. I know. There are people who like me very well, and they tell me, but I know that for them, I'm from a wrong ethnic group. I know that, and I understand the practical implication of that. Okay, it doesn't bother me. It all takes time. Some of them have come back, some of them because they realize that it doesn't work the way they think it will work. But it takes time, you see. And I know, they know, and they know within themselves. People who were challenging me with the new constitution idea, Fifth Republic, now they are talking about as if it's their idea. That is fine. Plagiarism is the best form of flattery. Okay, so I'm not worried. But what it tells me is that the pendulum is shifting. The pendulum is shifting. And it's going to shift to the point that it would cross a certain threshold, and that's when the change will occur.
Shika said it's a huge task, but it will take a quick sun shift. Just back what you're saying. Yeah.
So I'm very hopeful. But at the end of the day, it's up to Ghanaians.
100%. Yeah.
Or for that matter, Nigerians, or for that matter, Togolese, for that matter, South Africans, for that matter, whoever. It's up to them.
It's up to the people. Yeah, I agree.
They hear and they think, this makes sense. I'll do it. I mean, we have some people will come to this program. After that, they will talk to me, and I say, oh, no, I don't know what they're saying. And they get angry. But you don't know it. You get angry, you can go. I don't need to be in Ghana, to be honest. You are there, you can pay your electricity bill. So, you see, people feel I talk the way I talk because I don't depend on the system. I will never depend on the system of Ghana. That's why I talk the way I talk.
Mm-hmm.
There are people there who have some ideas, but they depend on the system. So they cannot kick against the system. You cannot stand among thorns and remove thorns from your sole of your feet. You can't. You got to step out. You got to be outside it. And that's where I'm sitting.
I understand. Yeah, I understand that.
So
Totally.
they are in trouble. And that's why I'm saying that the solution to Ghana's problem will have to come from the diaspora. Those there depend on the system cannot do focal. That's the way. So anyway, we've gone 50 minutes, and if there are no comments or questions, then we will call it a day, and then we will talk again. Now, let me say it this way. Those who decide to post questions this after, I will not be available to answer them. Okay? This is serious business, and whatever you are doing, if it's important to you, you drop it and come at this time, because I'm a very, very busy person. You know, I'm a very, very busy person. Sacrificing this time, Uche is a very, very busy person. Uche will go to the channel. Oh, there's a question there that I said about I will do it only once, and I've done it only once. It will not happen again. Okay, we've got to be disciplined. And we have to know what matters. Okay? Good. Thanks, everyone.
Okay, well, everybody, thank you so much for joining us for this broadcast. I hope once again you've been challenged and stirred by what Dr. Nee has said. As always, please remember to follow him on social media and share this broadcast so that people can also participate and hear what Dr. Nee is saying for his vision and his vision for what is next for Ghana. Thank you so much for joining us. And as again, we'll see you next week, same time, same place. Enjoy your day. Bye-bye.
Yeah. I'm drowning in the cold here.